pardon missteps.
Based on the law, if you earn any income, you have to pay tax on it.
Join Opeyemi Akinyode in the Situation Room Mondays to Thursdays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. for the real action.
In the Kano State, they tried it. What happened? Even in Edo State, they tried it. Not what happened. What I would say is, Mr. President is full of strategy.
You want to rubbish one of the governors? He does not believe that he must lose any battle. And you choose your fights now.
On your favorite dial, Mainland 98.3 FM, the Situation Room. Issues, personalities, and perspectives. We are always watching.
Nothing for Nigeria, fi shock me again, no. Politics for Nigeria, no fi surprise me again.
Victor, Shooks, Wasiu, Adamu. I still say you don't the danger because the election don't they come. So you're thinking you're going to make extra dough because that rich man go say make you go carry gun on election day. I know that by snatching ballot boxes or causing mayhem on election day may sound like a means to an end to you. But beyond that, the consequence of your action is not for now, but for another 4 years. Can you boldly announce to anyone that you're a political thug or a man Friday to any politician? You know the shame, Abby. So don't sell your future just for one day gain. Violence is not a testament of real strength. Stand for what is right. Today, make a right choice. Drop that weapon, refuse that offer, and stand for peace. Protect your future, protect your votes, protect your country. Say no to political thuggery. This message is from Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to the Situation Room live on Mainland 98.3 FM. Today is Thursday, at the 21st day of the month of May 2026. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face for obvious reasons. We're gradually coming to the end of the month. And the excitement in there for me is by the 30th of May, every political party will have submitted their candidates to INEC. And so by June, July, August, you would have to follow the timetable of INEC. And that means we've gotten into full election period. So the campaigns, well, maybe you call them manifesto, you call them propaganda, whatever nomenclature you choose to use around them. It means that there's a possibility that governance could suffer a bit because everything becomes a political. And instead of last week, Saturday, with the primaries of the All Progressive Congress, the House of Representatives, a lot of twists, plots, subplots, and shockers. About 26 or thereabouts current House of Representative members may not be returning in 2027. Wow. We've also seen the House of Assemblies. We've seen the senatorial. Today is the governorship primaries in some of the states where they couldn't reach a consensus. States like Plateau, a state like Oyo, some of these states will be going to the primaries with us. So it's a big one. We're looking at those states. We're looking at some of the states where all they need to do is just to ratify and say based on consensus candidate A, B, C will be the governorship Ahmed Tinubu. There is a certain man that also picked up the nomination form for the All Progressive Congress. I'm sure you know that. Mr. Matthew Kuda says he's his friend from Edo State. Well, let's see how it goes. But more than anything else, we have a guest in the studio and that would help us understand some of the complicated issues that are flying around. The president continues to market the country this way. What happens to the insecurity that we're dealing with? What happens to Oyo State? What happens to Plateau State? What happens to Benue? What happens to Taraba? What happens to Borno? These are the questions that people have been asking. And believe me, my guest today, Mr. Opeyemi George, will help us understand some of these issues. And at the end, we would open the phone lines, if it's due, on our social media platforms. Facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. You can also go on YouTube. We're streaming live. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms: TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on Radio Garden. We're active so that you don't miss anything on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Opeyemi Akinyode, and I'm sure your day has been going good. The son of Lagos showed me pepper today. But as they will always say, the show has to go on. Mr. Opeyemi George, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the show. Before I allow you to talk, you're one individual had a notification of this session. And one of my very senior mentor asked me that, Shefemi Mawa, like, would he be in the studio? And I'm like, yes, he gave me his word that it's going to be here. And I'm like, your station is big, to get him to join you on your show. And it's a pleasure to have you join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Opeyemi. Thank you so much for having me here. Good afternoon, listeners.
So let's start from, we're looking at the state of the nation generally. So we'll touch a bit of security, we'll touch economy, but more than anything else, let's touch the trending issues right now, which is the primaries of the All Progressive Congress. Started off on Saturday with the House of Representatives across the 36 states. It would also look at the Senate, the House of Assemblies, that brought a lot of twists, especially in our own Lagos. I'm from Surulere, constituency 1 specifically. We have another candidate now, even though all of that is still being debated. But what do you make of the entire process of the All Progressive Congress primaries? It's the ruling party. They're supposed to set the pace for others to follow. And but there's been issues around consensus, imposition of candidates, allegation of same. We've also seen issues of endorsements. What do you make of the entire process? The national chairman of the APC, Professor Nen History, that find there are issues, but it's because everybody want to be on board. Do you subscribe to that school of thought?
So the reality, Opeyemi, is that the fact that APC is the ruling party, and APC is very strong at the grassroots in most of the states where they superintend over. Politically, for you as an aspirant, once you clinch the ticket, once you clinch the nomination of APC, you are 60% through
into the seat.
You already have a foot at the door. So that explains why it is so competitive
at the primaries.
Mm-hmm. Because people just know that presently the momentum, because of the followership, because of the grassroots movement. So basically that's it. That's why it's that competitive. It's nothing new. And because you see, also secondly, the presidential system of government which we run in Nigeria, it's a zero-sum game. It's a winner-takes-all game. So once you win completely. Once you lose completely. So it's very difficult for people to swallow and accept defeat. So they will do everything to fight for that ticket. And even when it seems that they're not going to get it, they hope against hope and still get to the wire. And that's what you see, as good as having a fourth term. But you see, if you belong to a party that it's almost like a family, and you know that, I mean, even before consensus came, you almost cost me my job. It is native wisdom, native intelligence for you to know that, you know what,
the signs,
the door is short. So, but for you to keep going on and to now try to blackmail the entire party, now took press to the primaries, and you now want to throw them under the bus, I don't think that's a wise thing to do, in my own personal opinion, really. But I mean, like I said, by and large, it's because APC is the dominant.
Before we leave this one, let's also quickly look at issues of this consensus. When the Electoral Act was amended, the option of primaries was limited to just 2. Before now, we used to have the delegate conversation, which I think is anti-democratic, by the way. But then because we have number representation, you could make do for that. But the wisdom of the lawmakers feels that, you know what, let us take it out. Let us do either consensus or direct primaries. And you and I know that direct primaries could be really expensive. It's more like a general election, actually, if you look at it from that context. But the idea of consensus, does it in any way limit the growth or the possibilities of a proper internal democracy? By and large, already have their preference, or maybe already have their preference. So it's a case of, okay, 6 people want to run for this ticket. We want these 2 to go first, probably because the zoning does not favor you. Then they start looking at those possibilities. But there are a lot of concerns about consensus. Some people feel like it is killing internal democracy of the political parties. Do you think of that?
I'll tell you that I disagree. And I disagree not just from the standpoint of being a pro-APC person. I disagree from the standpoint of being a political scientist. In America, we copied American democracy. In America, they have the super delegate system. It's almost like a consensus, whereby the majority elect a few who now elect on their behalf. That's how their candidates emerge, even in the US. So it's not undemocratic to forget things so soon. For a long time, since the beginning of this Fourth Republic, Opeyemi, we used to complain about these indirect primaries. Because if you remember, prior to this time, what used to happen was that it was a cash and carry stuff.
Well, that takes so.
1,000 per delegate. Aspirant B comes, says, I can do 5,000. Aspirant C comes and says, I'm going to give 20,000. Aspirant D comes and give 50,000. At the end of the day, the man with 50,000 takes the entire delegate and he gets the ticket. And we used to complain for years that, oh, this is not democratic. Oh, this is buying and selling. Now, you have a government that has now come to say, you know what, let us de-dollarize, let us demonetize the process by which aspirants emerge. Let's make it democratic system.
Has it truly been demonetized?
Oh, to a large extent. To a large extent. If this was 4 years ago, we won't be hearing this noise. We won't.
Because everywhere will have been
it will have just been cash out. Even delegates, they are happy to go to primaries because they know that all the candidates will pay them. So at the end of the day, it's the SB that they follow. So party members used to look forward to party primaries because they knew that is one season where
chop have come.
Oh yes, but now that has been almost I wouldn't say completely, but 99% completely eradicated. So we need to give kudos to this government and to this country. One other thing which you haven't also realized that they've done, if you remember, Opeyemi, prior to this time, strong candidates, what they used to do, they go to a major party to contend for ticket. Once they know that they can't get it, it's looking shaky.
They look for the special purpose vehicles.
They go and get a placeholder in a weaker political party and lock down that space. And once they lose here, they cross over and go and take the ticket of the other party. But now you cannot do that.
You are stuck.
Because INEC says party must submit party registration members 21 days to primaries. So it has amended. And like I said, we should, whether it pays us or it doesn't pay us, we should give credit to this Senate and to this government for putting those two things in the Electoral Act.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people listening now that had reservation around the mode of transmission and all of that, and in that process keep some really important part of the Electoral Act. Maybe you need to go back and pull that particular document at the moment, maybe during election, how our elections should be conducted, the details of it. So let's keep all of that to one side. I'm sure that, God willing, if you're available, you will still join us probably before the general election proper. Let's talk about the state of the nation. And I'm going to ask you, and I'm sure this is the same question everyone would ask herself, how country they do you? Let's start from there.
Thank you very much for that very honest question. Truth is, right now, things are tough. I'm a card-carrying APC member. I'm a founding member of APC. And I'm a Nigerian. I'm a businessman. I don't occupy any political office. I do private business like everybody else. I make money on the street like everybody else. I pay the same bill. Things are tough because I say to people, in life, either in the life of a person, a family, a company, or a nation, there's one foundational rule. You pay now or you play later. You play now or you pay later. Whichever way, you're going to pay the price. And the more you kick the can down the road, the more you postpone your day of payment, the higher the price that used to pay 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'm not blaming any previous government. I'm just stating the obvious. If we have done certain things years ago, we would not be here. And like they say in motivational speaking, that, oh, for you to keep doing the same thing so much, there are churches everywhere, there are mosques everywhere, Nigeria is just going to change out of the blues. No! Even God calls it the working of miracles. Miracles are worked out. In other words, there's an effort dimension that goes even into the miraculous. So for us to have the kind of nation we need, that we want, there's a price to pay. People to hate me, but go and check my track record, what I've done in Lagos. When I took difficult decisions in Lagos, they were criticizing me. But today, everybody comes to Lagos. There is no tribe in Nigeria that doesn't have a representative in Lagos. Anybody lives anywhere in Nigeria, the first place they want to go to is to come to Lagos. Why? It's a $248 billion economy. That economy did not drop from the sky. An individual sat down in 1999, put intelligent people together, and they drew up a strategic economic plan, which they have followed till date. And that's why Lagos is where Lagos is today. And this president is saying, you know what, go and check my track record. I've done it. And see, Opeyemi, let us, for the sake of education, let's look at some nations. Okay, you know, let me even ask you, give me 2, 3, 4 nations in the world that you know that have transitioned from underdevelopment to developed nation that we celebrate today. Give me 2, 3, 4 nations. Let me even Singapore, yes.
Taiwan,
yes.
Let me say India, relatively
yes.
so.
Go ahead. Which one is the most celebrated today?
Maybe China.
Thank you, China. Okay, so
I'm just focused on the Asian tigers because our revolution almost came up and the expectation almost at the same time.
Thank you. So you mentioned China last. So let's start with China. Today, China is the second largest economy in the entire world, $46 trillion US. Opeyemi released the report June last year. They call it "How Did China Become Rich? The 40-year Journey of China." Listeners can go and Google and go and read the report. So this is not Obafemi George, a political scientist, one APC guy is speaking. I'm going to give you facts that our listeners can go and fact check. Okay? How did China lift 800 million people out of poverty? In 1979. And that was when this journey started. And China said, you know what? We want to develop. So what did they do? Number one, they decided that they will begin to invest massively in infrastructure. So they began to invest heavily in tertiary education. Not primary, not secondary. Tertiary. That's number 2. Number 3, what did they do? They created what you call special economic zones. Because they know that each zone has its own competitive advantage. There's no point trying to make mainland China to be like northern China. No. So they created what they call SEZ, special economic zones, SEZ. Okay? Those are the 3 things they started to do in 1979. By 1989, Opeyemi, the GDP had just barely doubled. People can go in 10 years, 1989. By 1999,
20 years
after, they crossed the $1 trillion threshold.
That's a leap.
Yeah. By 2009, it became a $4 trillion economy. 30 years after. By 2022, it became a $40 trillion economy. And I've just told you what they did. And what they did, Opeyemi, is exactly what this government is doing. Number 1, massive and aggressive and speedy investment in infrastructure. I have express road in Sub-Saharan Africa. Opeyemi, that road was built in 1979. Muritala Mohammed Airport, before this government started the renovations, was a major, the busiest airport in Nigeria. It was built in 1978. Tinkan Island Port was built in 1977. Port Harcourt Refinery, Warri Refinery were all built in the 70s. So, Opeyemi, the question is, what was the size of our GDP in 1979 when these critical infrastructures were built? Our economy was just 24 billion US dollars. 34 billion US. That was our GDP in 1979. And in 2026, our economy. Now, Opeyemi, imagine a 50-year-old infrastructure that was built for a $34 billion GDP economy that is now carrying a $340 billion GDP economy. How does that work? And that's why I said, it's either you pay now or you play later. Because over the years, no government, since Obasanjo left in 1979, there has been no precedent that have embraced what China did. So now we have a Lagos-Calabar highway that is coming up. We have a Sokoto-Lagos coming up. This Muritala Mohammed Airport that was announced in October, work started in November or December. I was there a month ago. I could not believe the speed at which the project is going on. This is what builds an economy. This is what lifts people out of poverty. Because it is not the job. Now, if you look at that, if you look around Nigeria, you will notice that we've also been building what you call free trade zones. And if you go to those free trade zones, you realize that they are being run mostly by Chinese. Because that was what worked in China. That's what we are doing. Today, if I ask you which free trade zone is the most popular in Nigeria, they will tell you the Lekki Free Trade Zone. Why? Dangote Refinery. Opeyemi, let me ask you, who built Lekki Free Trade Zone? This same president when he was governor. And guess what? I remember when he reclaimed those land and he said he was going to use it for free trade zone. You know what Ibejuleke people said? And I'm quoting them verbally. And people can go and fact check. They said, Tinubu Ole, he has stolen our fatherland. That free trade zone is a fraud. That's what they were saying. If you check the voting pattern in Ibejuleke from 2003, they started voting again. 2011, they voted against the SN. 2015, they voted against the APC. Because they were like, no, they stole our land. A plot of land that they were selling for 40,000 in 2003. By 2017, when the deep sea port came on board, when the Dangote Refinery, they saw that, oh my goodness, what's going on here? And now they are selling the same plot of land for 60 million. So the same ballet.
And that was against.
2019, they voted APC. 2023, they voted APC. So you see, when I'm on social media, people are abusing the president, they are calling all sorts of names. I said, we've seen it in Lagos. Don't worry. I give you 10 years. All of you will look back and you will say, truly, we've had the best president ever in this country. They can take that word to the bank.
So let me build on what you just said. On the 29th of May 2023, the president made probably one of the most iconic statements in the history of our democracy. That is the official removal of subsidy. I mean, it's something that a lot of people felt like that's the only thing Nigerians are enjoying. But that particular statement changed the direction of what Nigerians were, well, maybe from how you started. Is it that you pay now, you play later, or you play now, you pay later? Maybe we were playing or we're paying. I didn't know what we were doing back then. But how significant was that decision? President for one day, like they used to have the one day governor, one day president. Would you do the same thing, like removing the subsidy without putting anything to cushion the effect of that particular announcement? Would you do it exactly the way the president has done it?
I mean, in 2023, all the major presidential candidates
said they were going to remove subsidy.
All of them said they're going to remove subsidy.
But none of them said they were going to announce it without anything to fall back on, Mr. George.
2015, as a matter of fact, in 2014, the coordinating minister of the economy, Dr. Konjo Iweala, told us in 2014, she said Nigeria is broke. That if we don't remove, the then CBN governor, Sanusi Lamido was there, Dr. Konjo Iweala was there. They analyzed how much we will pay for the next 10 years on subsidy. And now we could not afford it. But there was no president that had the lever to do it. Because they knew that it was one decision that will cost you your popularity. But they knew that it was necessary. And they kept borrowing. All through, unfortunately, where President Buhari came, unfortunately for him, by 2016, the crude oil price had dropped to $27 per barrel. So, I mean, country was... we were not just broke, we were in the grave. And we were borrowing. You know, when they say, oh, government have removed subsidy, so where is the money? We were borrowing to pay subsidy. We were not paying subsidy for capital project. In fact, there was no money for even recurrent expenditure. We were just funding for a subsidy. And you and I know, like I said, I think we forget a lot in Nigeria. Have you forgotten about 2016, 2017? For over a year, there was a hearing at the Senate that was investigating fuel subsidy scam. And that was when we knew that, oh, wait a minute, that importers will bring in empty vessels that will not get to Nigeria, it will not get to our seaport. And they will take the documents to NNPC. Everybody will sign and stamp. And Nigeria will pay. So we're even paying subsidy, not just on fuel. We're paying subsidy on no fuel. And that was why all the private jet, to park private jet in Abuja, they will go and park in Kaduna Airport. It was that bad. So are we saying that should continue? That some people should keep on becoming multi-billionaires? Since 2023, have you queued for fuel in Nigeria? The answer is no. Have people also forgotten that in those days, as a matter of fact, as early 2023, prior to the election, that we were queuing for fuel. And after spending a day at filling station, you don't get fuel. Right at the same filling station,
you get black market.
There's a guy who's going to sell 20 liters, 10 liters for 20,000 naira. that, oh, we are buying fuel at 290 naira per liter in Lagos. Someone in Maduguri is paying 1,020 naira per liter. Someone in Kebbi is paying 1,000 naira per liter. So the question was, who are we really subsidizing? And these are facts that we don't, because you see, because of the temporary pain we are going through, and because of the noise on social media that just wants to demarket this governor at all costs, we've forgotten where we were coming from. We've got to not remove it to 2023. Okay, right now, with the Iran crisis, Nigeria would have collapsed. Because by 2023, over 20 states couldn't pay salaries any longer. And you see, those of us living in Lagos, we have this mindset. We think that Lagos is Nigeria. we don't know what Zamfara looks like. We don't know what
Taraba looks like.
What Kebbi or Ebonyi looks like. So we try to superimpose our experience in Lagos over entire Nigeria. And because Lagos controls the media, both social media and all that,
that narrative sells.
So that narrative sells. But the guy in Ilorin is thinking, Obafemi, are you mad? Do you know how much that they speak? Do they know what we're actually going through here? And most of those states are civil service states. So once government cannot pay salaries,
the state is grounded.
2023, April 2023, a month before President Buhari left, FAC allocation that the federal, state, and local government shared was about 740 billion naira. 2023. December last year, the same FAC shared over 2 trillion. In fact, there was a month last year they shared projects. That's why governors are now superstars. They are no longer owing. They are doing massive projects. Take Kano, for instance. They've just employed 18,000 teachers. The very first time that you will have a state, because UNICEF says that any state, any nation that wants to fight illiteracy must commit minimum 27 to 30% of their annual budget to education.
Kano is doing that.
Kano is committing 30%. Like 200 people were just sitting somewhere between NNPC and petrol marketers and some bankers and some politicians. People were just screaming out. And we're spending trillions of naira on subsidy that wasn't subsidizing anything. But now subsidy is taken away. Why would World Bank? Because when you say anything, they'll say, it's PR. World Bank, MD Operations World Bank came to Nigeria in February, and she told the president, she said, the economic turnaround of Nigeria, the economic restructuring, has become a case study all over the world. That this is how a nation transitions from underdevelopment to development. That the tough economic decision this government has made has become a case study. And 2 critical things: removal of subsidy and floating of the naira. Opeyemi, before, one of the reasons why the previous CBN governor is still having a case today, during his tenure, there are people that on a monthly basis they collect $100 million from Emefiele, and they at 320 naira, and they go to the market, they sell to banks, they sell to all sorts of people at 500 naira, and just clean out 200 naira on each dollar for doing nothing,
for just having access to it,
for just having access to the CBN government, for just being a cousin to a former president. So should we continue things like that? And there were industries, there were importers, there are business people who couldn't access FX. Both the poor and the rich, both the middleman and the upper man. And he said, I'm not going to do that. Let Naira find its level.
Mr. Bafemi George, I think a lot of people would probably agree with all of this analysis, but it could be disturbing when you look at the level of disconnect between the government and the governed. So they tell us to tighten our belts. Oh, you have to endure these sacrifices. You have to make sure that you remain committed. You have to pay your tax diligently as a law-abiding citizen. You have to do this. But when you put that to one side, and then you look at how the political class are living on luxury, you look at how the people seems to be far away from the realities of the country, and then you ask yourself again, are these people in touch with the realities of Jos? After the unfortunate killing at Angwaro Kuba, close to University of Jos, the same night when the president was coming to Lagos, I was caught in his convoy at the bus stop. And then we waited for about 1 hour for the president to pass. And then I counted the vehicles in the convoy of Mr. President, Mr. George. There were 42. I'm not talking about the securities and then the press. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about SUVs. And then I ask again, how do I, that I'm stuck at the bus stop, probably waiting for a cheaper transport fare to go home, where there are people that if you step out of the bank, people are rushing you to beg for money. You know, I always tell people, if you go to Owambe, the parties that we do, leave your seats as a guest to beg for those waste. Those waste used to be food for the dogs before now, but for people asking you for help. Nigerians are living at the mercy of what they can afford, not what the government can provide. How do you juxtapose that with the removal of subsidy and the current economic realities the Nigerians are facing? These subsidies, if the monies are going to the government, why are things not getting better for Nigerians, Mr. George? People can struggle to afford a tuber of yam that can feed a family of 4. And that's the reality on the ground.
Thank you, Opeyemi. I've just taken our time to explain to you the process by which a country moves from other development.
But the leaders are not living that process.
Hold on. Number one, let me talk about convoy. And I'm not here to defend anybody. But what people don't know, and how people tend to bend the truth, you find 2, 3, 4 state governors, AP's governor, have come to wait for him. So should they get on an Okada? So the long convoy you see is not the president's convoy alone. And this is the truth people don't know. You see, all of them, you have ministers, DJ parastatals, governors, senators, and because of politics, you want to be visible. You want the president to see you when he lands. You want
you can't be.
You want him to shake your hands, and you can't. That's politics for you. You can't rule that out. Aso Villa and going to the airport to travel, you don't see 60 vehicles. You don't even see 40. You don't even see 30 vehicles. Because that is just his own convoy alone going to the airport. But when he's visiting a state or he's coming there, everybody wants to be visible. So those are the retinue of cars that you see that joins his convoy. Like I said, I'm not speaking for anybody, but I'm just telling you what plays out when you see that long convoy, so that we don't misinterpret things. Number one. Number two, also don't forget, you see, people don't know this is Nigeria. A nation of 220 million people, the largest black nation on the earth. Right now, the fastest developing country is Sub-Saharan Africa. Our stock market is the best performing in developing economies. Have you seen the US convoy? Have you seen the US president convoy? He went to China. 4 aircraft took his convoy. Just his vehicular convoy. 4 aircraft. There are some things that goes with a big nation. And we must attempt a coup to take him out. Have we forgotten?
I'm not.
Since 1999, this is the first president that have had an attempted coup on his life. So you want him to go around in two convoy. If they kill him today, what will we do? Muritala was a humble president.
And he paid for it.
And he paid dearly for it. Oh, just 2 convoy. I'm just serving the people. And what he did in 6 months for us, some president have not done it in 10 years. But they took him out. I was at the 50th anniversary in February. And as I sat down there on Bank Road, on Muritala Mohammed Road at that program, I was asking myself, if this man had a bulletproof vehicle, would they have killed him? If he had enough escort in North Convoy, would they have killed him? Who would have benefited? Wouldn't it have been Nigeria?
He would have lived longer.
He would have lived longer.
So much more.
Because the things he did in those 6 months, he was the one that created moved us from 12 states to 19 states. He was the one that indigenized most of those foreign companies. He was the one that gave a powerful speech in Addis Ababa that rallied the entire African continent when he said Africa has come of age. They took him out like a piece of chicken. Simply because he was trying to be. Nobody will thank you for being humble. Nobody would. So if the president decides to go around with soldiers and security men to stay alive and fulfill his vision, I don't blame him. And if anybody, and that's the honest truth. But if we take it back to the economic issue that you said again, I've explained that it is a process. Nations that have done what we are doing, we've seen how long it has taken them. And honestly, it's amazing the speed at which this government is doing it. It took China 40 years. I challenge people to go and read that report. It's World Economic Forum report. June 2025. How China became rich. Story of China, 40-year journey. How they lifted 800 million people from poverty. What they did is exactly what this government is doing. Today, everybody talks about Dubai. What lifted Dubai? What changed Dubai? Infrastructure. Infrastructure. That was what. When the former sheikh was building the Jebel Ali port in 1974, when he started, the people said he was crazy. That why are you building the largest deep sea port in the middle of a desert? Who's going to trade here? And that's the reality today. No, I know that we would wish that things would change within a month or 2 months, but it has never happened anywhere like that. Either China, either Singapore. Okay, I mean, it took Singapore 30 years. There's a book from third world to first world. People should go and read it. Lee Kuan Yew became prime minister, I think 1957 or so. He didn't live until 1992. That's how long it took him to transform Singapore. One president. Kagame is not just doing second term. He has done third term. He has done fourth term. He has done fifth term. He's on his sixth term right now. So when we are asking for some things, when we are demanding for some things, and we are making comparison with some certain countries, let us look at how those countries got there. In Lagos today, Lagos is a $248 billion economy. Fifth largest economy in Africa. It is not a nation, it is a sub-national. We are where we are today because President Tinubu was governor 1999-2007. Everything you see today, he laid the foundation. Either Dangote, Lamata. When he created Lamata in 2002, I remember I used to be CEO of a company right here at Core Readers World, 7-Up at Motorway Center. Lamata was on the third floor. We were on the first floor. A friend of mine came to visit me and said, which one is Lamata? And I said, Governor Tinubu created it that, they're trying to redefine transition in Lagos State. They want to integrate, railway with rapid response. But today, is BRT not a reality? Is the blue line and the red line not a reality? Is free trade zone not a reality? But see how long it has taken us. There's no shortcut to progress. Let Nigeria, let us tell ourselves the truth. There's no day we will not be where we are today in 5-10 years time. Take my word to the bank.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening would certainly hold on to that word. And I'm sure the other guys on the production team today are also getting a lot to push out there after the show. You're live from Milan 98.3 FM. It is the Situation Room. And of course, I have a political scientist, political analyst, Opeyemi George. The messages that are dropping on my phone, we're going to have a good time on the show today.
No problem.
But let's look at how far we've come. A lot of people have said, fine, we're seeing some of these things, we're seeing the graces, we're seeing the blues, but we're having a major problem, Mr. Opeyemi George, which is security. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. So I looked at the list of the names of the kids that were abducted in Ogbomosho exactly a week today, and I saw 2-year-old. I'm probably struggling to even know how to walk to the toilets. That's ease myself as a 2-year-old child. So you're looking at what you've had to go through. And I stayed in the north for so many years, specifically on the plateau, and I saw how villages were literally wiped out. Things we can't describe on radio. I saw how families were killed. I saw how communities were ransacked and people were butchered in 50s, in 60s, in 70s. These are major problems. Are we paying attention to our security crisis?
Thank you, Opeyemi. You've touched a very sore point, and no matter who you are, as a Nigerian, you can't pretend that this is not touching you. Security and insecurity is something we shouldn't politicize, because it is dangerous for all of us if we politicize it. But unfortunately, politicians don't learn. So this one, I'm just praying that God just help us. Don't let them cross the line. Now, when you talk about insecurity in Nigeria, it's not a blanket, one size fits all, one problem across the country. In Northwest, the root cause of insecurity in Northwest, places like Zamfara, parts of Kaduna, when you dig to the bottom in Northwest, it's illegal mining. That is what is at the root cause of insecurity in Northwest. It is illegal mining. When you go to the Northeast, what is at the root cause of insecurity in the Northeast, which is now spreading to other parts of the country, is radical Islam. Main root in Northeast,
religious radicalism.
That's what it is. 13 years ago, when I wrote my thesis in political science, my topic was insecurity, Boko Haram and security in Northeast. So I'm not speaking as an participant, I'm speaking from purely academic perspective. As far as 14 years ago. Now, when you come to North Central, what we see in Plateau and Benue, Opeyemi, let me shock you. What we are seeing today in Jos, in Plateau, in Benue, started over 200 years ago. I repeat, over 200 years ago, 2 centuries ago.
So bring me into that conversation.
Before the first white man ever set foot on Nigeria. What is the genesis? Now, in where you call Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, where you call Middle Belt today, that place is to Benue. You have the TV, Udoma. Now, that entire enclave are all purely Christians. I'm trying to lay some foundations, some building blocks there for you. Purely 100% Christians. As a matter of fact, historically, we were told that the Birums have been living in the Plateau since the 12th century. That's like 1,400 years ago. History, sociology also told us that the TV people have been living in Benue since I think they said the 14th or the 15th century. Now, what is the genesis? The Usman Dafodio led jihad in the Northwest. Now, that jihad attempted to sweep the entire North. It failed in Northeast because the Kanuris were able to resist the jihad. It failed in what you call the Middle Belt today. The TVs, the Birom, they resisted the jihad. But you cannot delete history from people's memory. So that attempted jihad that failed stayed with the people. Now, in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence, the North had a major political party called the Northern People's Congress, led by Sir Ahmadu Bello Sardauna of Sokoto, who was the great-grandson of Usman Dan Fodio. So, and Benue, they resisted it because for them, what they saw was not a political party. What they saw historically was a jihad in the form of politics.
So because of the relationship between the then leader and the jihadists.
Absolutely. And because of that, Solomon La in present-day Jos and G.S. Taka in present-day Benue created the party called UMBC, United Middle Belt Congress. And instead of aligning with MPC in the north, they came to the south, to the western region, and aligned with Awolowo Action Group. Now, that did not sit down well with northern people. Trade Benue. That was what led to the 1963 conflict in the then Benue. That saw over 300 people killed. That crisis, it's called the Thief crisis, partly was also what created the Wetier crisis in the western region. And that was what destroyed and killed the First Republic. And that's why I told Ahmadu Bello then that what you guys are doing would eventually take your life.
They won't believe it.
I'm sure they wouldn't have done that. But they were playing politics. And we saw how and where everybody ended, including Nigeria. We cannot go down that route again. Now, let me stay in the Middle Belt. So what happened in 1994? Even though between 1960, or even to prior to 1960, from 1914, after amalgamation, you have some Awusas and Fulanis that migrated to Jos. And when teen was migration from Northwest, from Katsina, from Kano, from Sokoto to Jos. And a good chunk of them stayed in what you call Jos North local government. Now, let me tell you where Jos crisis started from. In 1991, when President Ibrahim Babangida created Jos North local government, the indigenous people, the Biroms, took on IBB and said, no, what you've just done is that you've just given our land to settlers. But because it was a military government, they couldn't do anything. But the seeds of enmity
has been sown,
which was appointed a Fulani man as the sole administrator of Jos North local government. One Alhaji Kato. Of course, all hell broke loose. Indigenous people took to their arms. People were killed.
A lot of them, actually.
1997, the same thing repeated. Now, by 1999, when the military left, it became free-for-all fight. In 2001, the same Jos North local government, one Alhaji Mukhtar was appointed as NAPEP coordinator. Of course, the indigenous people felt assaulted that no. An immigrant, a settler cannot come and rule us. And they were looking at it from the perspective of the experience of the jihad of about 200 years ago. Of course, Jos erupted. By the end of 2001, over 700 people have been killed. I repeat, 700. 2002, same thing repeated itself. Another crisis. What's part of that crisis? PDP killed. On both sides. Both indigenous people, both settlers, Christians, Muslims. It was so bad that President Obasanjo had to declare a state of emergency.
And that took out Joshua Dariye.
For 6 months. But you see, people thought that, that will solve it. I remember there was a panel that was set up, Justice Nikitobi panel, which recommended us at that time that we need to have a state police as far back as 24 years ago. Now, the president swept it under the carpet. By 2004, crisis erupted again in Jos. Again, over 1,000 Nigerians were massacred. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. For the benefit of people who are listening to me, they should go and look for a report online. There's an agency in Plateau State called Plateau State Peace Building Agency.
Yeah, being headed by my...
So it wasn't just that, it backed up by law. And they have documented every killing, every crisis in Jos from 1994 till 2021. In fact, they recorded 108 crises, almost 5,000 lives wasted. When you read that report, you will understand what is going on in the Middle Belt. And when you do, you will know that this is not something you will blame a President Tinubu for, who has only been in government for 36 months. Does he have responsibility? Yes. He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. We voted him as our president. So he has duty to give us peace. But when you understand the history of what's going on, you will know that, no. This is not something that we can just solve by him visiting, people say, no, he just went to the airport. President have been visiting there. He didn't do anything. If you ask me, in my own opinion, what is the solution to Jos crisis and Benue? And I've said it in different fora. Who is an indigenous?
And are we ready for that conversation?
We will be forced to be ready. Because as these killings continue, and you and I know that this is deeper than we think, we'll be forced to have that conversation. Because you see, what is happening in Jos has a tendency of happening in Lagos.
Sure.
It has a tendency of happening in Port Harcourt.
Sure.
Don't trigger yet. So let us stop pretending. We need to, you see, it's like, they say in Yoruba land that when two brothers goes into the room to talk and they come out smiling, they've not told each other the truth. We need to examine this. Because you see, whichever way you spin it, both sides of the coin, they are right. The settler, the Hausa man or the Fulani man who has been living in Jos, some of them are fourth generation. They don't even know where the ancestors came from in Katsina or Kaduna. So for you to tell them that, oh, you are not an indigene and you don't have a right to this place, it's unacceptable to their hearing, to their consciousness, because they're like, my father was born here. My grandfather was born here. This is all I've known my entire life. And you say, I
bet you that was why you came in the first place.
We knew where your great grandfather came. It was my great-grandfather that gave him a hut to live in. He was a laborer on my great-grandfather's farm. How can you now be saying that you now want to be my governor? My ancestors have been living here for 1,400 years. You met us here. So both sides of the coin, they have a right. And that's what I'm saying. It's a defeat called conservation that we must have as Nigerians if you want to see lasting peace. Because if you don't, God forbid, President Tinubu will finish his second term, blaming the sitting president. Because 10 years ago, this convention was ongoing. 20 years ago, it was ongoing. 30 years ago, it was ongoing. 60 years ago, it was ongoing. So if we don't do what they've never done, we will keep experiencing the same thing on a higher dimension, on a larger scale. And God forbid, how long are we going to allow country to keep on bleeding? It's not as straightforward as people think it is.
So if you say, because I decided to pattern this conversation, that was why I allowed different platforms. I've read what you've written about it, and I know that it's something that is really personal to you. But the constitution of the country makes it very clear that the principal responsibility of every government at every level, not just the federal government, state and local government inclusive, is the safety. There's a reason why the drafters of the constitution put safety first before anything else. And so if you think we should have a conversation that could give us a lasting peace, that can make me travel by night from Lagos to Jos, that will make me go from Abuja and pass Benue conveniently, that can make me go to Ekpom and not being scared of getting abducted or getting kidnapped, that can make me close my eyes that my 2-year-old is going to school and is not going to get abducted.
And I say this with my full chest. The 1999 constitution is not the constitution of Nigerians.
Is that a problem for us?
A major problem.
Okay.
Because a nation is only as good as its constitution.
Good.
That's what makes us, that's what defines Nigeria. So when you have problems like this, what you need to do is to first of all go into your constitution, go and interrogate your constitution. That's why you and I can sit down like this. That's what makes local government state. It's a constitution. And an undemocratic institution like the military
cannot structure
a democratic document for a democracy. Not because they are wicked, not because they are selfish, but by the virtue of their training, by the virtue of their orientation. They are used and trained to have a command. That's why we have a problem even with the security architecture. Now, we are claiming to have copied the presidential system of government from the United States. But for crying out loud, let us also copy their security architecture that is supporting that system of democratic government. Let us copy it. So you have the Georgia police in the county where I live, Clinton County. You have the county sheriff, which is our own equivalent of local government. And that's how they've been able to secure their democracy. An honest step to create a state police. Because if you go back to our constitution, let's even go back to constitution. It says, the peace and the security and peace of the people shall be the responsibility of the government. Now, when you read the same constitution, I think it's section 214, I can't remember now specifically, that says that the state governor will guarantee public safety and public order in the state. And he shall do so by advising the commissioner of police in the state. So that is what I call a leprosy. It's a virus in our constitution.
Can the governor advise the commissioner of police?
Thank you.
Accountable
He's
to
not
the governor.
accountable. He's answerable to an IG in Abuja. So how is it going to, and that's why each time you see a crisis in the state, either in Jos or in Borno, Boko Haram bomb some people, you see the governor, they are helpless. They just go there, they go and commiserate. They'll donate 200 million.
Promise to bring the perpetrators to justice.
They create IDP camp. They'll donate mattresses, food items, and say, it will not happen again. I am meeting with the security chiefs tomorrow.
But it will still happen.
But it doesn't have any power. It cannot do anything. That takes away the power for him to carry out that responsibility.
That's a contradiction.
And that's why I say we are not better than our constitution. But this president, when this new IG was appointed in February, one of his number one KPI
is to structure the state police.
Is to establish a state police. Because the president himself knows that without state, see, the president is one individual. He cannot govern 36 states. He cannot govern 774 local governments. That's why we must have whatever the president can do at the federal level, the governor must be empowered to do the same at the state level. The local government chairman must be empowered to do the same at the local government election process and not copy their security architecture. Let's copy everything. And I'm glad that this government is taking steps to, well, if he cannot do everything, let him do something. Let him give us the state police they've started. I was excited when 2 weeks ago I heard that he appointed for the first time Special Advisor for Homeland Security. That is security architecture in the United States. I had some opposition people saying that, oh, why would you appoint Homeland Security SA when you have NSA? And I'm like, dude, because you're in opposition doesn't mean you should oppose everything, even when it is illogical. That's what makes America internal security. Like I said, we didn't get here in 36 months. We cannot get out of here in 36 months. And the security aspect also has different dimensions. You have poverty, you have illiteracy. Because when you see those Boko Haram's boys, some of them 17, 18, 19, some of them are teenagers. Not all of them are from Mali or Chad or Niger. Most of them are Nigerians. And they taught us in those days in sociology that it takes 18 years to raise a responsible citizen. It also takes 18 years to produce an irresponsible citizen.
So what side of the divide you want to be is on you?
So those boys who are Boko Haram today, they didn't drop from the sky. They are products of a failed system. The question you ask is, this 19-year-old Boko Haram, when he was 2 years old,
what was he doing?
Which father, which mother abandoned him? When he was 4, 5, 6 years old, when he was supposed to be in primary school, where were the parents? Because if you go to North today, I've lived in the North before. I've lived in Kaduna, I've lived in Minna, I've transversed Northwest Nigeria. You go on the streets, you see all those children, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, on the street carrying bowls, begging for food. We are not going to get out of this hole overnight. That's the truth we need to tell ourselves. So if someone says, okay, it's President Tinubu. No, this thing have started decades ago.
So do you trust these governments to pull Nigerians out of this hole, in the sense that it's a promise that the president made? And I remember he said it that, see, don't pity me. I danced for this job. I lobbied for this job. I begged for this job. I campaigned for it. And so when the times are tough, don't pity me. Do you trust this government to get things done, even if they don't get a second term?
I tell you what, I'm a business owner. Before I employ someone, I'll go and ask for a reference from his last employer. What have you done? Where are you coming from? State Security Trust Fund. He didn't have the constitutional means to create a state police, but within the constitution, he could fund the existing police security architecture. Did it not work? It worked. So many states have copied it, and it is working. So for me, it's about track record. And is it taking steps? The answer is yes. Will it yield result today? The answer is no. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. But by the steps he is taking, will it yield result? The answer is yes. I'm a Lagosian. I've seen what he has done in Lagos. I've seen the transformation of Lagos. And I'm saying to myself, whoever can do this in Lagos can do it at the federal level.
Okay. I don't know where we want to start from with the feedbacks that we have, but we have just about 15 minutes to walk out of this studio. Well, if you're just joining us, let me tell you for a fact, you've missed a part of the show, a huge part of the show. But trust us, we'll always have copies or recordings of these on all our social media platforms. So at your convenience, you can go on our Facebook page, go on our YouTube page, and get the link to this. Standard. There's a little I need to say about introduction anymore, but we need to allow you also join in. And I want to appeal to you. Just go straight to the point, leave the formalities, and be very civil in your comments. Thank you. 0913-600-0410. we're talking at the state of the nation. We started off with the politics, we looked at the economy, we looked at the security or insecurity that we're dealing with at the moment. It's a major problem, and I know you want to join us. So let me open the phone lines. Oh, it's been on fire since this show started. 0913-600-041. I would also read your messages in between, so that we don't leave anyone out. This. The calls. Wasn't the same Tinubu 10 years ago protesting against Jonathan for trying to remove subsidy? What sort of hypocrisy is that? And you asked about the kidnapping, and your guest is talking about Plateau. Okay. Thank you, Alfred from Iju Shaga. Let's speak calls. We have loads of messages.
Your voice. Could you do your this?
Good evening to you. He's listening to you.
Good evening, Alfred.
Okay, nice hearing your voice today on radio. There's something I want to ask you. Are you hearing me?
I'm with you, Alfred. Be quick.
There's something you have said now. You said that Nigeria had independence in 1960. Between 1960 and 1999, where Tinubu become a governor of Lagos State, right? Mention three things that Tinubu did.
I didn't get that.
Alfred, I'm sure my guest will respond. He's saying that while the president was in Lagos as governor, that was mentioned three things he did that attracted investment into Lagos. Okay. I'm sure that let me just try and pick all of the calls and see if you can just pick a couple of comments to respond to. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Ope.
You're welcome.
I am calling from Papa. I did your guess, okay? My question is that the president protested against subsidy removal. Why did he remove it? The second question, he removed subsidy and he still borrowing money. Tell your best to tell Nigerians, why is the president borrowing money when we are...
Yes. For the very first time, I am enjoying unbiased analysis from a wonderful Nigerian. God bless you for bringing this man more anointing to your to your knowledge and to not run dry. Okay, thank you very much for that. Good evening to you, Okpe, and good one from your guest. I don't agree with all you have said, but on the issue of state police, this current president and this administration will use them against the opposition party. In my area, I know what the past Agege local government chairman did to some people, including my Oga Nuruddin. That's Rahim from Agege. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Opeyemi.
You're welcome.
Where do you find this man? On Thursday, one for original tonic.
Your name and where you are from?
My name still remains Prince. Why? Even though I don't think you allow us to call. I was enjoying the day this man is speaking. Tell me the issue of the Lord. Wonderful. I thank you for bringing this man to the studio. And my question to your guest is this. Hello?
I'm with you, Prince Wise. Please be quick.
What you say, I really enjoy it. But I want to do that for you see the money that all the facilities we are building now. If we suppose leave photo, Coastal Road and the airport big take it out, can then continue with it. That's my question to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prince Wise. Sunday from Ikeja says today's episode on the Situation Room is like the cause. It's like history class to me. Please, how can I download and listen again? Well, it's on our social media platforms. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Buhari take over government. Our debt was almost 22 to 23 trillion. When Buhari left, we were about 75 trillion. Now, Buhari can say, because that means Buhari borrowed like 50 trillion. He was paying subsidy. Today, we're having about money we borrow. And secondly, your girl said something that if they kill Tinubu, not only Sheyi go cry, all of us will run away. So as they are killing people now, Tinubu is happy. And the last not be list is that. Last not list is that. He said Lagos is secure. Lagos is not secure. Do you know why? Because most of them in Lagos, they never travel to other villages. There are villages where there is no police. Before police will come, they will take 1 hour, 2 hours for that time. But Lagos, because of the population, you go there hard.
Thank
for body to come and attack.
It's not the citizen. It's not for the citizens to blame President Tinubu. to resolve the security problem, because the issues have been there for years, could you ask him whose responsibility is security and who should be blamed? The man is now hanging security failure on the constitution. This is very sad from the guest. Look, between Ijebu and Ibadan yesterday, 2 people were kidnapped and he's speaking grammar that holds nothing. God bless you. And that is Ola from Lagos. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
You're welcome.
It is saying that the president has done what? What about the power sector in Nigeria? Do you know how much of people that power will create job for? And he's talking that Mr. President is one of the best presidents that have invested in infrastructure. What are you going to say concerning power? Even before God created anything in the Bible, the first thing God created was power. Yes. So what are we saying? Everybody can speak English. I know I give it to him because he's marketing his party. But please, don't rub it on our faces. This is one of the worst presidents so far. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chinozo from Meron says, good evening to you. I'm enjoying the discussion, but let me state clearly here that I disagree totally with your guest. Please, I want your guest to tell Mr. President to return us back to 2023. I want to ask a question. Paper. Okay, thank you very much. And that is Chinozo from Meron. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, please.
You're welcome. Your name and where you're calling from?
Mr. Samuel from Orile Agege.
Mr. Samuel from Orile Agege.
Yeah. When my president wanted to come as a president, that probably was there. He said, I'm a Bewale, I want to put 200, when they go out 500. That is now what, let me say, he started with the 500. Is he lying or Kajo, or what is that one? That is number one. Number two, he said, I'm a phone in after 6 months because they don't vote for me. Please, let them support. Even if my president doesn't look at those things. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
Don't post. I don't know. I say no.
Okay, you're live from Milan 98.3 FM. The phone lines. I just hope that my phone will not crash this evening. But Lee, take a listen to this one. Okay, we're having difficulty trying to schedule. I wanted to quickly. Okay,
so will I be able to respond to?
Yes, please respond to it. Respond to the questions.
Okay, I think I've taken like 9 or 10 when God created the earth. First of all, created power. So again, see, Morile, let me remind him that in 2000, 25 years ago, that President Tinubu, then Governor Tinubu, was the first governor in Nigeria that realized that for Nigeria to have power, state must be allowed to generate and distribute power. And even though there was no enabling law, he brought in Enron badges to Ijora here in Lagos. People should go and research and remind themselves. And the PDP government then swore that those badges will run. It was after he did that the government at the center now began to talk with the idea of balkanizing the power sector. Anyway, that's history. When he became president, he was sworn in 29th of May. By 9th of June, first 10 days in office, the first bill he signed was the 2023 Electricity Act.
For states to generate and distribute their own electricity.
Because of what I mean, it is not done anywhere in the world that it is federal government that generate, that transmit, that well. There's no nation in the world as big as Nigeria. They don't do it. It's the state and the local level. And that's why that was the first bill he signed on the 9th of June 2023. Between then and now, in case Nigerians don't know, 15 states out of 36 have already set up their own state electricity regulatory commission. They've already started issuing licenses to companies, not power from
national grid.
Not national grid. No national grid that was built when Electricity Corporation of Nigeria was established in 1947. That's not going to give us power. What's going to give us power is what he has done. He has given the enabling law. In other words, you as Opeyemi, you can go to the regulation in Lagos, collect a license that you can generate, transmit this power for this Antoni village. That is the solution. And that has been done legally. That's number one. Let me try and take as many questions as possible. There was a guy who said, that Buhari left a debt of 74 trillion. Tinubu is now 154 trillion. So the question I want to ask Lucky is, what was those debt meant for? Because when Buhari was borrowing, like I said, he was borrowing to pay salaries. He was borrowing to pay subsidy. It wasn't taking us any further. So the question is, this government that is borrowing, what are they borrowing for? Let us not. There is no nation that grows without borrowing. Opeyemi, America is the biggest economy in the world.
It's the most indebted.
It is the most indebted nation. The debt to GDP ratio of America is 212% as of today. Our debt to GDP ratio is 33%.
But Americans are seeing what those debts are, those monies are being used for. Are we seeing
But since how many years? Since over 100 years? Last year, America started in 1956. There was the act that was passed. They call it Federal Highway Act. In other words, let us build highways across the length and breadth of America. 1956. This is doing just this month, because they say, what is it borrowing for? It's borrowing $1.25 billion from World Bank. Guess what? This same month, they've just approved $400 million. For which project? Road projects. One in Kaduna. Like I said, I've lived in Kaduna before. Mando, Beningwari. That's the major way that connects Kaduna with Northwest, with the South. Ibadan, Ijebu-Ode Road. That road was built in 1936. Opeyemi. That was the third road that was built in Nigeria post 1914. No government has touched it. Only Awolowo touched that road once. Ibadan Ijebu-Ode Road. This government had just approved that road should be widened and be dualized. I can spend the entire day reeling out projects. What are they borrowing for? Just last week, the medical director of the Federal Medical Center in Calabar, Professor Opeyemi, said, oh, this is the first time that as a medical director, he had beginning to see that the number of doctors relocating have begun. The reason is because that hospital facilities are being renovated. People are saying, what is the money being spent for? In 2024, only 10 million Nigerians had access to primary health care. Between 2023, 40 million. In other words, 30 million more Nigerians have had access to primary health care.
Mr. Bafemi George, we have to go. I mean, I know that we had all of the time in the world. We'll break all of those things down to details. Last month, I made a quick trip to Ondo Town. I now have to enjoy from Ore to Ondo Town. That for me is a blessing. And this is not PR for the government. This is what I saw. This is what I enjoyed. And I said I was going to come back and say that. And thank God it popped up today. Mr. Bafemi George, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I wish we had enough time, but I'm sure this conversation would continue. I'm lucky to have you today, and I'm sure again I'll still be lucky to be able to drag into the studio. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So much for being my guest on the show today. Yes, apologies for we have almost 60 messages that we can't read, which I would also come back for Sports Cruise. Thank you very much once again, my guest. Mr. Bafemi George is a political scientist, a public affairs analyst, and of course a member of the All Progressive Congress. Have a beautiful evening, and don't forget to keep your dialogue only on Mina 98.3 FM.